Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
Welcome to Sekhet-Maat Oasis Qabalah 101 class. I'm Frater Audeo.
And I'm Soror Luz-y. Now for some general housekeeping. Your mileage may vary. We are offering these classes for free on the YouTubes to everyone, but a suggested donation of $10 or whatever you will would be greatly appreciated. We do post content every week. If you are a fan of our content, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to get notified on new content that comes out, subscribe to our channel.
All right, my own disclaimer now. I don't claim to be a master Kabbalist or a scholar. I would consider myself a Kabbalist and magician, but I'm not a scholar. So I may say things that could possibly be even incorrect, or a correspondence that is different from the correspondence that you use. I may pronounce things slightly different than the way you pronounce them. And hopefully that does not aggravate you enough to leave the content all behind. But if it does aggravate you, well, that'd be your will. And I hope it works for you. But with that little disclaimer out of the way, I do the best I can with the correspondences in front of me. I try to get my correspondences from 777, 776.5, and the like. There's a full bibliography at the end of this presentation. So I'd look them up, pass them on to you in order to help you build better ritual, build a better correspondence in your mind, so you can basically grab items at will in your great file cabinet, which is the Tree of Life. All right, today we're on the 13th Path of Gimel. You'll notice right away we're crossing the abyss. We are going into the realm of the into the basically the abyss, literally, kind of the realm of not known, the place of Doth. We're going right through this Sephira that's not a Sephira. It is Doth, or knowledge. And it is called the uniting intelligence. It's the area, if you were going by AA's titles, it's the Babe of the Abyss. All right. Otherwise known as the uniting intelligence. Sekhet-Maat ha-Akadoth, the uniting intelligence. You'll notice that it connects Kether, the one, the prima mobile, the first mover, the literally the one, the Godhead, to our higher self. So the macroprosopus to the microprosopus, the divine self to the higher self, the sphere of the sun to the sphere of one, the prima mobile, which literally translates to the first mover. The moon is also associated with this path, represented by the High Priestess. You'll see Gimel being a double letter in it's one of the 7 double letters in Hebrew. It's got 2 pronunciations, a hard G and a soft G, or a Germanic G, like a that one's really bad. So don't quote me on those ones. Those are, but it's got 2 pronunciations. So it's a double letter. It's got 2 meanings, peace and war associated with that. We'll go into that in a little bit too. Some of the minutiae or the correspondences, mystic numbers 91. Gimel itself has a value of 3. The element of air is associated with this path. There again, we see the whole tree of life, not just the specific path. again, a reflection of the fact that we are on the middle pillar. We notice that it is straight up the middle pillar of the path's line up from Melkuth to Kether. And you'll notice it after we've left Hesed, we've done an about face, because if you are going to follow the traditional order of the letters, we would be going from Geburah to Bina. But instead, we're going Tiferet, Kether, which seems like we're taking a shortcut. But the idea there is we need to find balance. So we go through the path of balance, the middle pillar, going up first into the abyss before we try to dare take that energy of the supernals in. It is extremely potent, to say the least. So our first taste of it better be in the pillar of mildness.
Like dipping your toe in.
Yeah, more like dunking you. Certainly a baptism of a very strong degree. And water's associated with it as well. I know the correspondence is air, but when you think about what is representative of the card itself, like the high priestess or the priestess in the Thoth deck, there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of water associated with it, a lot of things, and that has to do with the memory, the reflective nature. And when we get into the tarot, we will talk a little bit more about that too. But yeah, and then you're getting close to Binah, which is the great sea, the great mother, and then you have the energy, the Chokmah on the other side. One of the kind of cool things about the 13th path is its gematria. The 13th path is, if you look up the number 13, some of the other words associated with it are Ehud, which is unity, and Abba, which is love. So pretty potent modes of expression there. Love and unity, and up on the tree, those are very key. We're getting into the true polar opposites on the tree of force and form, of that energy, and then that energy contained, the first container of Saturn, and then the uniting intelligence, the one that's traveling between them, forming a bridge between those two energies and giving us the path to self-actualization. All right, back to some of the correspondences. The animals, real and imaginary: camel, dog, white stork. And can't say enough about looking at the correspondence of camel. What does a camel do? In the old days, it used to keep people alive. It used to transport goods across the various huge deserts. They can run on very little water. They store it. Well, actually, they run on a lot of water, but they just know how to store it, and are used to the intense heat. So it represents commerce. It represents communication, because it took people and goods long distances, just like the very long distance between Tiferet and Kether. That journey of the higher self, basically attaining Godhead within themselves. It's a long journey, and for most of us, finding our higher self, our HDA, and having communication and direct link there is a serious task and a daunting one, and one that I'm ever striving for, let alone for that to be the next evolution of that divine self, striving evermore to create the next link, which is just straight to Godhead. So it is a journey. Camel is a great reference. So plants, real and imaginary: almond, mugwort, hazel, moonwort, ranunculus, pomegranate, alder. Precious stones, the pearl. And again, think of how the the pearl is formed. It's formed over time, and it's like a layer of an onion, or a layer of time locked together. Each, each degree of time being locked underneath the other one and locked underneath the other one. If we think of the high priestess, a perfect example of that, because the priestess is a subconsciousness. It's the record of all things worthy of being written, which is literally our whole experience. Some people have the opinion that our subconsciousness records literally everything that every one of us have. A photographic memory, a perfect auditory memory, and I believe that to be true just because of certain experiences in my life. I certainly am not a good representative of having a perfect memory, let alone a photographic memory. But at times in my life, I'll have an experience where a certain smell, a certain experience, a certain feeling all of a sudden has a flood of emotion and a flood of memories and pictures that I haven't thought of in 20 years. So to me, that's a really good demonstration of the fact that there must be a little recording device that maybe not be as easily accessed, but it is there. And the I believe it's called synesthesia, the way different senses will excite another sense. So a certain smell, or certain, maybe somebody's really good with numbers, has pictures that represent a certain numbers, and it's the mixing of those blends. That's a good example of the written record that the high priestess is representing. Not to mention on a further level in theoretic past life, even you could go there too. So a bit of a ramble on that one.
Well, in some studies with patients who have Alzheimer's, that when they listen to music from the time period of when they had good memory, they were able to recall memories from that time when they heard the music and associate it with the music, and kind of bring them back into consciousness. So I think that's pretty fascinating how a variety of senses can link to different areas of our subconscious and conscious mind.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's a lot what I was talking about. Is like I may not be able to demonstrate having that perfect memory, but at different times, certain experiences spur that within me, and that's a really good example of that, where the function isn't always perfect, but given the right circumstances or the right setting, and boom, and there's their memory again, and their
like associative memory, is that kind of stuff similar?
To be honest, I'm not sure on that. Okay. So semi-precious, get back to the minutia.
Okay, sorry.
Semi-precious is the moonstone, the beryl crystal, the lineal figures, the enneagram. The enneagram was representative of a psychological breakdown. Well, it's not, there's more to it, but it's often utilized in a form of psychiatric modality, if you will.
And this is a design here of like how to create one, which I thought was kind of cool because it has not only just like the circle and then the triangle, but then you have the hexagram to kind of create this the image. So I think it was pretty cool. See, the hexagram's inside of it, and then there's a triangle right there. Isn't that neat? I saw it. That's why I picked the pictures. Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. All right. Incense, camphor, lopal, menstrual blood, aloe, almond, sweet virginal odors. Yeah. Vegetable drugs, juniper, pennyroyal, all eminogs. Eminogs. I did not look up how to pronounce that, but I did look up what it was. And those are things that help the blood flow in the body, especially in the pelvic region. So anything that would help menstrual cycles are a representative of eminogogs. So I thought that was interesting. In the human body, its lymphatic system is representative of this. And just think about how the moon operates. The moon controls giant bodies of water. You know, the lymphatic system is a fluid in our body that carries around the white blood cells, and kind of interesting enough, it does not move on its own. It has to be moved by something else, not uncommon or not unlike the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind really needs the self-conscious mind to push it along, to give it that what it's supposed to be focusing on. And so even in the human body, like the muscles, when you lift your calf or when you breathe, that helps move the lymph system through your body. Not unlike the two forms of consciousness. I thought that was pretty cool. Typical diseases are the menstrual disorders. Psychological attributions, again, when we talked about the double letter, peace and war, these are what are associated with the double letter of Gimel. And subconsciousness and memory. If you look, let's see. Okay, we'll keep going. We'll talk about the tarot here in a little bit.
Sorry, I'm just spaced.
No problem. The divine names in Asya, Shaddai El-Chai, or Shaddai El-Chai. Or so I joke, you know, but it is it's a back of the throat.
You're just so good at it. I can't
sound
do that.
Traditionally, and please don't be offended by that. Again, I should be respectful, and that wasn't. It was, but I tried to my best at pronouncing, and then I went with the joke instead. So, but nonetheless, Shaddai El-Chai, you have seen that before. If you guys remember, we've seen it in the ninth sphere. That's the divine name associated with Yesod. And that is the divine name we call out. That's its reference to the moon. The moon being represented by Yesod, and then we're back on the card that is representative of the moon. So again, we have it. We saw that with the Emperor and Qabalah as well. And same thing for Jupiter. All of them have it. The planetary ones are usually doubled up. Actually, even some tripled. But beside the point again, Had and Elim are other divine names. The archangel is Gabriel. Planetary angel is also Gabriel. Planetary spirit is Cosmodai. The heaven of Asya is Levana or Lebana. Legendary orders of beings are the lemurs and the ghosts. A little bit, yeah. Those
Scary lemurs.
And then we have going into the pantheons. For Egyptians, we've got Khonsu, Thelemic, Nuit, or Babylon. Think of that universal subconsciousness that I was talking about, that recorder of all things worthy to be written. Nuit and Babylon are great representatives of that. So in Greek, you've got Artemis, Selene, and Hecate. Roman, Diana. Hindu, Chandra, Soma, Lakshmi. Magical powers and mystical states. Works of divination and memory. Again, it's kind of that reference of all things needing to be written, proper to be written. The prolocutor in certain orders would be representative of this. In that divine memory is like we spoke before. Not only is it our personal memory, it's beginning to we're high enough onto the tree that we begin to take have a little bit more access to the higher realms and the possibilities of remembering our past lives, or even if they're not past lives, if we start possibly scratching into that divine soup, basically. You know, you don't have to believe in a specific Audeo's existence, but maybe the fact that there has been many existences and everybody makes up a little bit of that cosmic soup. And there's a way to access that information. And working with this path is one of those. The white tincture, clairvoyance, and divination by dreams, and the magical memory are all of the states. So now let's talk about the weapons. Did you have something to say?
Well, I was just thinking about the divination by dreams and how interesting sometimes things can come up. Recently, I had a thing where I was dreaming of looking up a page number in a book in the dream, and like the numbers were all warped, and I never made it to the actual page number, but I woke up with the number in my mind. And then like the first book, I opened it up and I thought it was a different book because I was still half asleep, but it had like still referenced something that was happening in the following day. And then I went and I looked up the number in the gematria, and like it just like everything was all linked up. So I always find it interesting when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, I was impressed at your communication with your dream levels and your if you want to call that your communion with your HGA. I thought it was very apparent at that point. That was a definite hit, if you will.
Yeah.
It was impressive. So
it's always fun. I usually don't get numbers, but have recently, since actually been doing these Qabalah classes and all this path working, it just gets stronger and more apparent, because now I'm paying attention to the numbers where I wasn't before, and I also know the Hebrew letters better, and so when they come up, then I can like remember which ones they were and look them up. So it's really helpful to have done all these classes with my correspondence knowledge. I'm going to shut that door so that.
Yeah. Okay, so magical weapons, the veil. Interesting to have this veil as a weapon. But what does a veil do? It kind of obscures our vision. It creates a boundary, but it's a boundary that we can, if given the right opportunity, we can lift up. We can. It is a lifting of the veil that occurs little by little as we go along the path, and the abyss is a huge, huge veil, and it's represented by the high priestess or the priestess.
And so like the veil and the bow and the arrow to me is like really coming up with like the priest in the Gnostic Mass when he's standing at the steps and is, about to open the curtain, of like that same kind of like moment. I feel like that moment's like this particular path is like we're coming up to that moment of just the big reveal.
Most definitely, 100% agree. I mean, I think that is very well represented in the Gnostic Mass, specifically at that point, and literally and spiritually, really good thing to bring up there. So, and then we've got the bow and arrow. Where have we seen the bow and arrow before?
Artemis, but I don't remember what's
with Kosheth.
Kosheth.
The lower three spheres on the tree of life, Kuf, Tav, and Shin, and then Samek being the prop or the arrow that shoots up from it. So it's cool to see it again as a symbol there. Not surprising. It's again, it's along the middle pillar. And what are we doing? We're trying to ascend. So what a great correspondence of the bow and the arrow, that which pushes forth
with force.
Yeah,
you know?
at a single point of force.
Yeah.
Up the tree, as opposed to wavering, and it's not a boomerang, it's an arrow.
Okay.
Still effective, but different. All right, quit my jokes, but true. Anyways, 13th path right there, the priestess. What a beautiful card, so well done. You see the camel representative, you see all of the colors represented. You've got the geometric figures, you've got
the lunar aspect.
Yeah,
the crescent moon.
Yeah, and all of that just so well represented. It's just a beautiful card. So let's get into the color scales. King scale, the color blue. Queen scale, silver. The prince scale is cold pale blue. Princess scale, silver rayed sky blue. So yeah, Lady Frida Harris nailed it on this one. Or is it Frida?
It's Frida Lady Harris.
Frida Lady Harris. There again, I usually botch that one. So Frida Lady Harris did a wonderful job representative of all of the scales on this card in a beautiful, well drawn out, and it draws you in. It's a great card to meditate on. That one, it's easy for your mind to stay focused. It really has a drawing effect, and a one that allows you to tap into that consciousness we have been referring to all the way through this. The esoteric title of this card is the Priestess of the Silver Star. And those in the AA tradition may have heard that before. Or the OTO for that matter, really. But moving on. Gimel spelled out equals 73. So you've got the Gimel, the Hanged Man, and then Adjustment or Justice in the traditional deck. So one may see this as subconsciousness, and the subconsciousness tied with the complete reversal of all things known and unknown bring a level of balance, a level of mastery, a level of poise. Another thing you may notice is that there's a lot of water around here. There's the water being the fluidic astral light is strongly representative, and in the end it creates a balance, a perfection.
It's interesting too, kind of like how in the priestess you have like the moon, and then in the hangman it's almost like you have like the rays from the sun coming down, and then behind the adjustment it's almost like a star. So it's kind of like you kind of have all these astrological aspects going on that kind of interesting. I never noticed until I just seen these three together. I think it's great that we spell out the letters with the cards, because you definitely, like when you have them next to each other, it just gives it a little bit more, just kind of a glimpse of how these energies are working together, and how the tarot itself is just really a great way to convey these connections and images, and just really seal it in your mind. For me anyways, I imprint very strongly on these cards. So.
I 100% agree, and can't endorse it enough, and recommend all people study it as a means of communication with their own with their own consciousness. It's working in the way our our brain works, and especially the deeper levels of our brain works in symbols, and we learn to communicate directly to different levels of our consciousness, both super and sub and self, by focusing on the tarot and learning those correspondences. It's such a great way to learn the correspondences of the tree of life is using the tarot, because it's just there's so many things that are visually cued that it really helps seal these in. So I strongly recommend, if you have any interest in furthering your studies, to if not already using, integrate the use of tarot into your daily practice. Pick a card, any card, and learn about it for a day, learn about it for a week, learn about it for 2 weeks. Keep notes, keep a journal on that card, and then, go to the next one, randomly pick one and go to the next one, and keep doing that and build up your associations. You'll learn about astrology, alchemy, pretty much every magical discipline is represented in the tarot. So some of the other things that 73 add up to is interesting as well. So it's the atomic number of tantalum. The one that what I found interesting was Chokmah, the wisdom of the second Sephiroth, and Chokmah, a title of Chokmah. So, and where's Chokmah? It is just to the right of the path we're on. It's kind of cool to uniting intelligence, uniting these aspects. Again, gematria really ties things together for a lot of the ideas. Another system in order to allow your subconsciousness the ability to link things together and the ability to understand spiritual maxims, if you will. So, and I think we're just gonna go on to the meditation.
Okay.
Because we get to read that at the very beginning.
Okay.
All right. I think that's it, folks, for the minutia aspect or the correspondences. But you will be asked to show a talisman along the path today. That talisman is a symbol of the moon, the symbol of the archetype of both our subconscious mind, the great recorder, and the like. So the planet of the moon. So do a quick banishing and then we'll get started.
Okay. Ato Haivas Melkut Vege Buddha Vege Dula Lialam. Amen. Yone Vave Adonai Yea. Path Gimel Olam Adonai. Before me, Raphael behind me. Gabriel at my right hand. Mikael at my left hand. Oriel. About me flames the pentagram, and within me shines the six-rayed star. Otto, I was Melkut, Vebura, Vedula, Leolam. Amen.
All right, take a big inhalation, exhaling deeply with a sigh. Letting the day strain, dispel. All the concern of the day kind of goes out with the breath. Giving a clear indication that there's a shift in consciousness occurring from our mundane, everyday life into that of something sacred. Now we're going to do the fourfold breathing. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4. We're going to hold that breath for a count of 4. And then we're going to exhale for a count of 4. Then we're going to stay empty for a count of 4, not taking another breath until at the end of that count. And then we're going to breathe in again, and we'll repeat this cycle multiple times. And don't worry, I'll count them out. So, all right, exhale in deeply. Inhale to a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Now allow the counting to drop away. Stop the control of the breathing, but still focus on the breath. Watch the breath go in and observe the breath going out. Observe the breath going in and observe the breath going out. Do this on your own for a minute. When the mind wanders, simply bring it back to the anchor of the breath. Feel the breath going across your nose and into your lungs. And then on the exhale, feeling that warm air coming out of your lungs. Cool breath going in, the warm going out. Begin to formulate the astral temple of Malkuth. Upon entering that temple, chant the divine names. Adonai Hararet. And call on the archangel Sandalphon. Allow Sandalphon to materialize and take you up to the east of the temple and take you up the 32nd path of Tav or Tau into Yesod. Entering the temple of Yesod with the sign of the enter. And divine name Shadael Chai Gabriel. Allow Gabriel to manifest and take us up the path of Samek to Tiferet. Once inside, give the sign of the enter to enter the temple of Tiferet. Once inside, give the sign of silence. And chant the divine name Yod He Wai He Elo Vada. And the archangel Raphael. There again at the eastern wall of the temple, we see a doorway. With the high priestess on it, veiled by a veil blowing in the wind that covers that door. You see the archway bearing a white little Gimel on its keystone. The veil containing the priestess painted on it. The archangel traces the symbol of the moon in the air before the archway, and that veil evaporates. In its place is a door carved out of moonstone. Holding up the silver crescent, you trace the figure of the letter Gimel before the door, which dissolves. Stepping through the portal, you enter the 13th path of the United Intelligence. As you do so, you hear the voice of Raphael. It is written, it is not from man to man that great gifts are communicated. For that which he can give to another is that only which a man can spare from himself. It is for this reason that after solidarity and brotherhood, each of us stands alone. Know that all is one. You step out into a grassy field, bordered by fruit and nut-bearing trees. The sun overhead is brilliant. The air is sweetly scented with jasmine. You walk toward a gently sloped hill that rises in the east. A sandy path leads over the hill, and you take it, leaving the valley behind. The hill appears to go on indefinitely. The more you walk uphill, the farther away the hilltop appears. The heat of the sun is severe. With firm resolve, you press on, but it seems to take an extraordinary amount of time to reach the summit. At length, you arrive at the top of the hill, exhausted and thirsty. You look out over a vast and high desert plateau where there is nothing to see but endless miles of sand dunes. The path continues to the east. It is faint, but still visible. Determined to cross the desert, you start down the trail. After walking what seems to be miles, you begin to wonder if maybe this journey wasn't such a good idea after all. There's nothing here for you to eat or drink, not even a cactus to cut open and drink bitter juices from. It is late afternoon now, and the sun's power is dying but relentless. You feel it drain your energy as you begin to tire. Each step becomes more and more difficult. Exhaustion sets in, and you stumble from weariness, landing face first in the sand. Suddenly, you hear a noise and feel hot breath on the back of your neck. You look up into the soft brown eyes of a camel. Its bridle straps rubbing your arm. Grabbing the leather straps, you pull yourself up to your feet. The camel was equipped with ornate saddle of blue and silver, leather covered in moonstones and pearls, grateful to have been mysteriously provided with a means of transportation. You climb into the saddle and continue your journey eastward as the sun gradually sets behind you. The animal sets a steady pace, reassuring pace. It seems to know exactly where it is going. As the day fades into night, the camel's hoofs appear as they hardly touch the ground at all. They glide over the sand. In the failing light, you see that the path ends at the edge of a cliff. The camel picks up its pace and gallops toward that cliff that overlooks a huge, gaping chasm. The other side of the abyss is concealed in the oncoming darkness. Without slowing, the camel takes a great leap off the edge of the crevasse into absolute darkness. Time seems to be suspended in that leap. You are uncertain whether a second, a few minutes, or several hours have passed. The only thing that you are certain of is blackness that surrounds you. You cannot even see the camel beneath you. Both you and the animal seem to be weightless, as if floating in slow motion through deep space. The world you used to know seems light years away. Without warning, time speeds up again. You land on the other side of a chasm, but the camel does not even break its stride. It is still night, but no longer completely dark. The bright full moon overhead illuminates the sand dune. The camel gallops across the desert at breakneck speed. Gradually, the flat desert landscape gives way to rolling hills and forests. A stream appears ahead and its water sparkling in the moonlight. You dismount to take a long, cool drink of pure water. Revived, you climb back up on the camel, which walks at a casual pace up the middle of the stream toward the water's source. Ahead, there is a small temple. It appears to be constructed in the Hellenic style, but carved completely from moonstone. A great crescent-shaped row of columns flank the entrance on either side, enclosing the headwaters of the stream that flow out of an aqueduct just under the pearl steps that lead up to the entrance of the sanctuary. The camel stops at the foot of the building. You dismount and walk up the steps into the main temple chamber. There is no source of illumination in the room other than the bright full moon, its light permitted to enter through a ceiling that is open to the sky. There are two great columns, one of moonstone and the other of obsidian. Before them is a square pool of pure water, the source of the stream outside. Selene, the bright moon, is reflected in the waters of this pool, and her light is refracted. It dances off the surface of the water to form graceful currents of iridescence that caress the walls and the columns of the chamber. In the east of the temple, you notice the stylized image of a star engraved on the wall. Outside of this simple yet potent symbols, the temple is empty. You sit down by the pool to stare into the water. You are suddenly gripped by a terrible feeling of loneliness and despair. Is this it? You wonder. All this way for a temple, a moonlit pool, and a drawing of a star? Shouldn't there be more? Where are the gods and goddesses, knights and the prophets, the legends, the stories that illustrated the previous path? Even Selene, the goddess of the bright moon, whom you've encountered briefly on an earlier path, is silent now. The paths that you explored in the middle realms of the tree never left you with such feelings of spiritual desolation. You're filled with doubt about why you are even attempting to scale this tree of life. Questioning all your motives and your accomplishments, even your most strongly held spiritual beliefs. Never have you felt more empty, more alone. Overcome by sorrow, you bury your face in your hands as tears stream down your face. Your body is racked with sobs. Salty tears fall into the pool of water, where they turn into pearls. You cry until you've exhausted all feelings of sadness and despair. A sense of calm returns. Looking up, wiping away the last of those tears. You see the bottom of the pool is now covered with pearls. The eastern wall of the temple now appears to be transparent, open to the starry horizon. Where there was once a drawing of a star, there is now a real star, or rather a cluster of stars, a spiral galaxy. You watch the galaxy spinning slowly and gracefully, hearing the voice of Selene, the bright moon, finally speaking to you from the canvas of the night sky. Looking up at the moon, you see the head of a woman entirely hidden by a veil. Can your tears prevail against the tide of the sea? Your might against the waves of the storm? Your love against all the sorrows of the world? The path of Gimel passes through Daf, the higher arc of Yesod. It is written into Af. The depths are broken up and the clouds drop down dew. This is the initiation, which no mortal being can offer. This is the final purification that no earthly water can bestow. It has been called the dark night of the soul. Could the path that leads to the experience of the final union with God be any less? Could any vestige of impurity survive such an ascent? All must be let go. All must be released. Here the soul is purged of all imperfection. It is secretly taught the unity of the divine love without conscious understanding of the manner of teaching. The blemishes of the soul are shed like tears into the primal sea. They are the pearls of growth, for nothing here is as it seems, or as you imagined it to be. The image of the veiled woman fades into the luminary of the moon. The eastern wall of the temple has become solid again, displaying the drawing of the star. You do not understand everything that was revealed to you. Perhaps you are not meant to understand more than a glimpse of this most potent path. Perhaps it is not possible for a living being to understand more. When a part of you realizes that this is not over, and you request your symbol, your sign, your instruction to go back with you. Something just for you. Ask Selene for your communication. level that you don't profess to understand, you have a deep sense of spiritual clarity. Your journey on the Path of Gimel has reached its completion. Climbing back on the camel, you return to the Temple of Tifereth, where you leave your mount and are greeted by the Archangel Raphael. Then descend the path of Samek to Yesod. From there, down the path of Tau to the Temple of Melkuth. Sandalphon secures the portal of Tau. You salute the Archangel of Melkuth with the sign of the enter, and she answers with the sign of silence. And you exit the Temple of Melkuth. And once on the other side, you give the sign of silence. Doing the quick form of the banishing. Would you like to do the demonstration of Apopontos Cocodamenos?
We do.
Clearing the space and clearing the energy of that astral realm. If you'd like to join me, please do. Spelling the word with the words Apopontos Cocodamenos. Apopontos Cocodamenos. Apopontos Cocodamenos. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Take care out there, YouTube.
Love is a law. Love under will.